Hello students, welcome to UVN Academy. We had started with the current electricity chapter. In the previous video, we had read about the drift velocity. Now what is the drift velocity? We all know. To sum up, it is the average velocity of all the electrons inside the conductor when they move towards the positive terminal of the conductor under the influence of an applied electric field. In the absence of an electric field, they have only thermal velocity. With the applied electric field, although they are accelerated by the field, but the net result that we discussed came out to be that they move with a constant average velocity towards the positive terminal of the conductor under the influence of an applied electric field in the direction opposite to the electric field. So we are starting from here only. The drift velocity, the expression that we deduced in the last video was minus E upon m into tau. The negative sign itself reflects that the direction of the drift speed is opposite to that of the applied electric field. As you can see from this figure, the field will be from positive terminal towards the negative terminal and electrons will move towards the positive terminal with a speed equal to E by m into tau. Now we come to the next term, that is the mobility. In this chapter of current electricity, we have small topics, like number of short topics are there on the basis of which 1 marker or 2 marker questions can be asked. So the next thing is the mobility. Now what is the mobility? Mobility is defined as a drift velocity per unit electric field. So drift velocity is E by m into tau per unit electric field. It comes out to be equal to E and E will get cancelled, and we are left with E tau by m. Now one thing that you need to remember here is that mobility is always positive. That's why I have put this sign of mod over here, that drift velocity of the positive charges and negative charges will be in the opposite direction. Suppose in case of semiconductor, if we talk, we have the type of charge carriers are both holes and electrons. So they are positive as well as negative, and they both move in the opposite direction. But mobility is always positive. It is defined as the drift velocity per unit applied electric field. Its unit will be, unit of charge is coulomb, unit of tau is second, tau being the relaxation time, unit of m, that is a mass, will be kilogram. So the unit of mobility is Cs by K, that is a coulomb second per kilogram. Now this is a very short term. Sometimes it is asked what is the mobility, and here we need to remember two things. The unit is there, dimensions you can always make on your own, and the definition can be the drift velocity per unit electric field. Now a very important relation here is the relation between the current and the drift velocity. This expression is quite useful in the next chapters also. We need this expression, that is I, and the relation between I and the drift velocity. Now consider a conductor whose area of cross section is A, length is L. Small n we are denoting as a number density of electrons. Number density is defined as number of electrons per unit volume. We never give the actual number of electrons. We cannot give rather, because when you use a conductor, some person is using a wire of 10 meter, another is using a wire of 5 meter, or the area of cross section will be different, length will be different. So for every piece of metal or the wire that we use in the circuits, the volume will be different. So number density is a standard term that, like for the copper, we have 10 raised to the power 29 per metric cube. So we define it as per unit volume. So the unit of number density is per metric cube. So let us denote that this is any material whose number density is n, the electrons per unit volume are n, area of cross section is A, length of the conductor is L, so the volume comes out to be AL. Now what will be the current when we switch on this battery? The current will start flowing from the positive terminal towards the negative terminal. Electrons will start drifting towards the positive terminal with the speed Vd in the direction opposite to that of the applied electric field. So the current in the time t, like if the electrons move from one end of the conductor, say from P to another end of the conductor, say C. So in going from P to C, they have covered the length L, and they are moving with the drift speed Vd. So Vd will be equal to L by T, and the total charge that will flow from P to C will be the charge per unit, that is the number of electrons per unit volume is n. N into Al is the total number of electrons. Charge on one electron is E, so the total charge that will flow from P to C comes out to be ALNE. I hope I am clear with this term. See बच्चे, N is the number of electrons per unit volume, A is the area of cross section and L is the length. So total electrons will be NaL and the total charge will be NaLe because E is the charge on one electron. So current comes out to be ALNE by L by Vt because the time will be L by Vt. So it comes out to be NeAVt. This is a very important expression that we need to use in many chapters and otherwise also. The current is NeAVt. This expression itself gives you the answer of the question when we say that the drift speed of the electrons is very low. Still when you switch on the bulb, it glows instantaneously. Although the drift velocity is of the order of, as we discussed in the previous video, is of the order of 10 to the power minus 4 meter per second. So if it is 10 to the minus 4 meter per second, how can we, when we switch on the circuit, the bulb glows instantaneously? The answer lies here only because N is very large. The number density of the any metal comes out to be of the order of 10 to the power 29. So this comes out to be NeAVd. If I replace Vd with the mobility, then Vd is equal to mu into E. So we can also write it as Nea mu E. Now, if I substitute the expression for the drift speed, which was equal to E by m into tau, so it comes out to be Ne square A E by m into tau. And E is also equal to V by L. Applied electric field is potential difference applied per unit length. If it is a V volt battery, then E will be equal to V by L. So I can substitute E with the V by L also. So current comes out to be Ne square AV by ml into tau. And I now break up these expressions into three terms. Ne square tau by m, A by L into V. Now why I have taken in like this way? The reason is N, number density, charge of electron, relaxation time and mass. This is constant for a given metal. In case of any given metal, the number density and tau is fixed. It depends upon the nature of the material. Number of electrons per unit volume will be different for the different conductors, and the relaxation time also depends, as I discussed earlier, that it also depends upon the structure of the conductor. So this is a property. Ne square tau by m is a property of the material. Fine. And obviously at temperature also, because relaxation time has a lot of dependence on the temperature. When you increase the temperature, the probability of collision increases and the relaxation time decreases. So this is constant for the constant temperature and given conductor. A by L is basically different for the different material. Like it depends on your requirement. This is external factor. This is internal. Copper ka, if you talk about the copper at room temperature, then this term will be fixed. Ne square tau by m for any copper material, whether its area is less or more, length is small or large, will be same. But A by L depends on our requirement. That the piece of conductor that I have taken, what is its area of cross section, what is its length. And V is also the external factor, that is the applied electric field, that was the battery that we have used. So V, A by L are the external factors and Ne square tau by m depend upon the nature of material. Now I pick it up from here only and you will see that if I cross multiply it, so I is equal to Ne square tau A by ml into V. If I take I over there and rest all the terms over here, I come to this expression V by I will be equal to ml upon Ne square tau A. Again I break it up. What is m upon Ne square tau L by A? As I told you that L by A is external and m upon Ne square tau is depending upon the internal, that is the nature of material at a given temperature, and we denote m upon Ne square tau with another term known as the resistivity. So rho is known as resistivity, and resistivity is also equal to the, and we call it as specific resistance also. We will define it and we will see that how does it change with the temperature. In the next video we will discuss rho in detail. Right now I am substituting rho as resistivity. It is also known as a specific resistance, and this gives me a broad expression that you have been using in the lower classes also. In the 9th, 10th also you are taught that R is equal to rho L by A. Rho is known as resistivity, L is the length of the conductor, A is the area of cross section. Now we deal it microscopically. In the lower classes we don't deal with this relaxation time or the number density. We generally say R is equal to rho L by A. What happens when the resistivity increases or decreases, or temperature increases or decreases? We'll discuss all these factors in the next video. So it is R is equal to rho L by A, and I denote this V by I is equal to R, and R is nothing but, you are very much aware of it, R is the resistance. R is known as the resistance of the conductor. Rho is resistivity and R is the resistance. It's a very important term, and throughout the current electricity we have to deal with resistances only. So V by I is equal to R comes out to be equal to ml upon Ne square tau A, out of which rho is m upon Ne square tau. Now from here we again come to another law, which is a very important law. I hope till resistance everything is clear to you. You can define resistance in many ways. If I have to define resistance from V by I is equal to R, then I can say the unit of resistance, all of you are very much aware, the unit of resistance is ohm. And I can also define resistance in this term also, that when a voltage of 1 volt is applied and the current resultant current is 1 ampere, then the resistance of the circuit is said to be 1 ohm. So when we define 1 ohm, we say 1 ohm is the resistance of a conductor in which a voltage of 1 volt can give you a current of 1 ampere. In the next topics we are going to discuss the resistance in great detail, and from here you can make the definition. Its unit is ohm. You can make its dimension also. Potential we all know, work done per unit charge. Current is a standard unit, and you can make the dimensions also. And if I talk about resistivity, I take this expression R is equal to rho L by A. From here I can also write that rho is equal to R A by L. And if I take unit area of cross section and the unit length, then rho comes out to be equal to R. What does it mean? It simply means, if I have to define resistivity from here, I'll say resistivity is the resistance of the wire whose area of cross section is 1 meter square and the length is 1 meter, or in the nutshell you can say 1 cube of a wire. So resistivity is defined as the resistance of the unit length of wire having unit area of cross section, and its unit will also be equal to how much? Unit of resistance is ohm, and resistivity की unit क्या आएगी बच्चे? This is ohm, this is meter square, this is meter. So it comes out to be ohm meter square by meter, which means ohm meter. So unit of resistivity is ohm meter. I have written very small. If you are not able to see, we can zoom it and will be able to see. So resistivity is defined as the resistance of the unit length of wire having unit area of cross section. Now we come back to the same expression, that V by I is equal to R is equal to ml upon Ne square A tau. Bache, now a very important law known as the Ohm's law. I hope all of you have noted it down, or shall we give a screenshot of it? So we can zoom it and show it to you. The whole board is clear to you. Then I can rub this mobility part and I can discuss the Ohm's law. So students, we have seen that if V by I is equal to R, V by I is always equal to R. Now a very important thing that you always need to remember is a misconception. The students think, in the lower classes also you have been taught that Ohm's law says that V is equal to IR. But Ohm's law is not V is equal to IR. V is equal to IR is valid even for the non-ohmic conductor as well. What is Ohm's law? We come to this point, we start from this point. If V by I is equal to R is constant under the constant physical conditions of temperature and pressure, then that particular conductor will be known as the ohmic conductor. See bache, two misconceptions over here. In the books, what is written is that they say V is directly proportional to I, and they remove the proportionality constant and put R over here and say V is equal to IR. But this is a totally wrong way to represent the Ohm's law. Because the first thing, whenever we write this V is proportional to I, here V has to be the dependent variable and I has to be the independent variable. Actually, V is always an independent variable. Voltage is what is in your hand, what you apply. If you have a conductor and you apply a V volt across it, then the current that will develop inside the conductor will depend upon the resistance of the conductor. If the resistance is more, current will be less. If the resistance is less, current will be more. So it is represented in the books. They write it like this: I is proportional to V. This means V is proportional to I. And this is totally wrong, because the proportionality constant will be inverse. And moreover, V is not a dependent variable. V is an independent variable. It is a battery that we have applied. बैटरी हम लगाते हैं, करंट कंडक्टर में डेवलप होता है डिपेंडिंग अपॉन द रेजिस्टेंस ऑफ द कंडक्टर. So we should never write Ohm's law as V is equal to I. We always start I is proportional to V because I depends upon the applied voltage. If you will apply more voltage, current will be more. If you apply less voltage, current will be less depending upon the resistance of the conductor. So I is proportional to V. And when we remove this proportionality constant, we have 1 upon R, not the R. And this 1 upon R is known as the G, which is known as the conductance. And R is known as the resistance. Inverse of resistance is basically the conductance. Whenever we draw the VI graph, we never draw the IV graph, we draw the VI graph. VI graph means along the x-axis, whenever you plot a graph, you always need to remember that along the x-axis we need to take the independent variable, along the y-axis we need to take the dependent variable. So V is something which is in our hand, which we apply. As we go on increasing the V, I goes on increasing. So first misconception here you need to understand is V is not proportional to I, it is the I which is proportional to V. On writing we can write that when we get this equation V is equal to IR, you remove the proportionality constant, then you can say that V is proportional to I. Mathematically you can say it is correct, but technically the current is the dependent variable and voltage is the independent variable. So the Ohm's law says that when the current that is produced in a conductor on the application of the voltage of V volt depends upon the nature of the material as well as the temperature. So we say V upon I is equal to R, and then the second misconception that all the students think that V is equal to IR is Ohm's law. V is equal to IR is incomplete form of Ohm's law, because V is equal to IR is valid for any conductor, be it ohmic, be it non-ohmic. But if this R remains constant, from here I conclude that V by I is equal to R, means I is proportional to V, or I can write I is equal to 1 by R into V, or I can write V is equal to IR, or I can write R is equal to V by I. Now when I write R is equal to V by I, if this R remains constant without changing the temperature under the constant conditions of temperature and pressure, if R remains constant, then the conductor is said to be ohmic conductor. And if R does not remain constant, it changes its value, although I have not changed the temperature. See bache, if you will change the temperature, R will change even if the conductor is ohmic or non-ohmic. So whenever you define Ohm's law, you need to keep 2-3 things in the mind. First of all, you should never write V is proportional to I. You should always write I is proportional to V. And come to this equation V by I is equal to R. And V by I is equal to R is constant. If you don't put this constraint under the constant, then also this is incorrect. Because if you will change the temperature, no conductor will be ohmic conductor, behave like ohmic conductor, because the temperature change will result in a change in the resistance. That we'll discuss how. I'll come to that point, the effect of temperature on the resistance and resistivity of various materials. But if you do not change the temperature, the resistance will not change, then that conductor is ohmic conductor. If temperature has been kept constant and still the resistance at the different points is different, it does not obey the linear equation, because when you write V is equal to IR, what is this equation? This equation is practically, if I write it in the straight line equation form, then independent variable is V, and I is the dependent variable, Then if I compare this with the linear equation, y, I have taken on the y-axis, current, and this has to be the slope m, and v is the independent variable that you have applied. So you take v along x-axis, you take I along y-axis, and this m will be equal to 1 by r, which is the slope, and this slope is known as the conductance. Slope of VI graph gives you the conductance, not the resistance. So there are some misconceptions in this law, although very simple to use, but you always need to remember V by I is always equal to R, whether it is ohmic or non-ohmic. If it is constant, then it will be ohmic conductor, provided the conditions of temperature, pressure are constant. If it is not constant, it changes from point to point, although I have not changed the temperature, then this conductor is known as the non-ohmic conductor. The equation of the ohmic conductor has to be a straight line passing through region, because I is equal to 1 by R into V. So y is equal to mx. If you draw this straight line comes out to be this. Its slope will be tan theta. Theta is the angle, which this makes it the positive direction of x-axis. So slope is equal to m, and m is equal to tan theta, and it is also equal to g, it is also equal to 1 by r. So slope of VI graph gives you the conductance in case of the ohmic conductor. So ohmic conductor has only one graph, that is a straight line passing through region, and whenever you draw the graph, you need to put the variable that you are taking along x-axis or you are taking along y-axis, because if you take I here, V here, everything will change. And on the basis of this, sometimes the question also comes. We'll come to the discussion of those questions as well. We give you the two graphs, and we have to ask you that which for the first case or for the second case, in which case the conductance is more, in which case the resistance is more. So you need to find the angle. This is the angle theta 1. This is the angle theta 2. So theta 1 is less than theta 2. So conductance of first is less than the conductance of 2. It means the resistance of first is more than the resistance of 2. These are the very common 1 marker question that I have asked. So one thing is that no other graph is there for the ohmic conductor. The graph of ohmic conductor has to be a straight line passing through origin, nothing else. Even if it does not pass through origin like this is non-ohmic. These all are the cases that I have drawn here. Below this, they represent the non-ohmic conductor. Non-ohmic conductor, even for the non-ohmic conductor, V by I will be, if I have to determine the resistance at any point of this graph, I will only take V by I, that is the resistance. But the only thing is that the resistance at all the points is not constant. You can see over here at this point the voltage is 0 but current is not 0. So this represents a point of infinite resistance. If you talk about V by I, so what is I? I here is finite, and this represents a point of 0 resistance. And you can have another graph also where I can make it as an infinite resistance like this. If this is V, this is I. Now here the voltage is 0 but the current is not 0. So this represents the infinite basically resistance over here, because you have given this much of voltage to the conductor, still the current is not 0. So this region represents a region of infinite resistance, but at other points the resistance is finite. And if I talk about this particular graph, so this is in this graph where we have the intercept on the y-axis. At this particular point A, you can see that the voltage is 0 but the current is still not 0. So R is 0 at this point. Here the resistance is 0. Here the resistance is infinite. At all other points the resistance is non-zero. Here at all other points the resistance is finite. So which means that the resistance at all the points is different. Resistance here is 0, resistance here is non-zero. Resistance here is infinite, resistance here is not infinite. It is finite. Fine. And you can see this variation. This is for PN diode, forward bias PN diode. You can see that the resistance at all the point is not the constant. This is gallium arsenide. The resistance at all the point is different. This is Zener diode. The resistance at all the point is different. You can see at this particular point when we have not changed the voltage but the current has changed abruptly. So this is a Zener diode which works as a voltage regulator in your UPS and everywhere. So except for this graph, a straight line passing through region, rest any other graph will represent the non-ohmic conductor. So sometimes one marker comes out the graph of non-ohmic conductor, identify the graph. whether it is ohmic, whether it is non-ohmic. So you must be very clear about 2-3 things. Non-ohmic conductor is the one for which V by I is R, but this is not constant. It varies from point to point. At the different points, the resistance is different. Now, if you analyze this, I have written this Ohm's law again. I is proportional to V. I is equal to 1 by R into V. V is equal to IR. G is 1 by R, which is a slope, which is also tan theta, and the unit of G is just the inverse. The unit of resistance is ohm. You reverse the ohm. OHM, it is MHO, mho. So, since it is inverse of resistance, its unit is also known as mho. The symbol of mho is just the invert of ohm, and the one special unit is also known as Siemens. Siemens is also the unit of conductance. Then we come to the conductivity. Conductivity is inverse of resistivity. We define the resistivity as m upon ne square tau, and the sigma is inverse of resistivity, which is ne square tau by m, and the unit of resistivity was ohm meter, and here you inverse the ohm and you inverse the meter, it comes out to be mho per meter. This all. So we have number of terms over here. You have the ohmic, state Ohm's law. What are ohmic conductors? What are non-ohmic conductors? Draw the graph of ohmic conductor, draw the graph of non-ohmic conductor, identify whether these are ohmic or non-ohmic. Then we have defined resistance, defined resistivity, defined conductance, defined conductivity. So we have here covered a number of terms. Conductance is inverse of resistance, conductivity is inverse of resistivity, resistivity is resistance of the unit length of wire having unit area of cross section. And what is the resistance? We already know that the physically meaning of resistance is obstruction to the flow of current. And where does that obstruction comes from? That we had already discussed in the drift velocity, that when we apply the electric field to any conductor, so what actually happens is that the electrons, when they start moving towards a positive terminal, they collide with the lattice ions, and when they collide with the lattice ions, which you have drawn these, or do you want to take a screenshot? Then I can draw it again. This is the PN diode, forward biased PN junction diode. This you will study in the semiconductor physics. Use the PN diode, Zener diode, and all these things you will study in the semiconductor. So no need to worry. Right now you just only need to remember that if it is not a straight line passing through region, it will be the graph of non-ohmic conductor. So you can take a screenshot of this, Bache, so that I proceed further. So here I have covered a number of terms: conductivity, conductance, resistivity, resistance, Ohm's law, non-ohmic conductor. Then we have another form of Ohm's law, which is a vector, the microscopic form of Ohm's law. Before we come to the microscopic form of Ohm's law, we need to define a term called current density. Shall I remove this? So ohmic conductor का जो ग्राफ बनेगा बच्चे, that will be like y is equal to mx. Even if it is y is equal to mx plus c, as in these cases plus minus c, still it will be non-ohmic. So now we come to another term called as current density. In the first lecture, we studied that current is a scalar quantity, but we will be anxious to know that current density is not a scalar quantity. Current density is a vector quantity. Like we talk about the area. Area, when the large areas we talk about, they are taken as a scalar quantities, but small areas are taken as a vector quantities. And whenever we represent the small area, the direction of area vector is taken as a outward normal. So now consider this area. Let us suppose this any area is there, and the normal vector to area will be this. This n cap is representing the normal to area vector, so which is area vector only. This is n cap only. So this gives you the direction of area vector, and if the current and area vector are there, current density is defined by J. It is a vector quantity and it is current per unit area, provided the area is held perpendicular. I am writing here as an area because we will deal with the small areas. You can write as ds also if you think the area is a scalar quantity, and the small areas will represent with the vector. You can write ds also. So if you want to represent it as ds, it can be I by ds vector also. So current density is defined as current per unit area. So its unit will be ampere per meter square. Now, if the area is already held perpendicular such that the current and area vector, they are parallel to each other, in that case the whole area vector is responsible to contribute to the current density, then this will be I by A. But if suppose area is not exactly perpendicular to the current, then we talk about the area vector. Now suppose this is the area. It's not held like this. This is a current, this is the area. In this case, the area vector and current, they will be in the same direction. But in case I have kept area like this and current is like this. Now the area vector will be something like this. If you take like this, then the area vector will be, if this is the area, this is the area vector, this is the current. Both are parallel. But if this is the area, this is the current, and this is going to be the area vector, then the angle between them will be theta, and the component of the area vector which is parallel to the current, component of the area vector, this is area, had it been normal, but I have drawn like this. Now if this is the area, this is current, and this is area vector A cap, then the component of A cap in the direction of I will be A cos theta, and in that case the current density will be equal to I by A cos theta, and I can write I is equal to J A cos theta, or I will be equal to J dot A. So I can also say that current is the scalar product of two vectors J and A. So current being the scalar quantity has to be the scalar product of two vectors which are J dot A. If the whole area vector is contributing to it, means current and area vector are parallel, then this will be, theta will be 0, like in the first case theta is equal to 0, so it comes out to be JA cos 0, which means JA. And in case area is not exactly perpendicular, then we talk about the component of the area which is perpendicular to the current, and that will be A cos theta. So it comes out to be JA cos theta. Now current density we have defined as current per unit area, provided the area is held perpendicular. Now we have microscopic form of Ohm's law. What is microscopic form of Ohm's law? We start with the current. We know current is equal to NEA Vd. You put the value of Vd over here, E by M into tau, and take A here, then I by A is nothing but equal to J. J is equal to I by A. So if J is equal to I by A, it is also equal to Ne square E by M into tau. And what is Ne square E? Ne square by M into tau, this collectively is basically 1 upon rho, because rho is equal to M upon Ne square tau. So if rho is equal to M upon Ne square tau, then J is equal to 1 by rho into E, and 1 by rho is nothing but equal to sigma, and we call J is equal to sigma E, and J is equal to sigma E is nothing but the microscopic form of Ohm's law. We also call it as a vector form of Ohm's law. Sometimes it comes into marker to the microscopic form of Ohm's law. What do you mean by the microscopic form of Ohm's law? Now you compare the actual Ohm's law that we written. J is equal to sigma E, and we have I is equal to 1 by R into V. This is field per unit field, and this is potential. And what is the relation between field and potential? Field is potential difference per unit length. What is sigma? Sigma is conductivity. Conductivity is inverse of resistivity. This is 1 by R, inverse of resistance. And what is resistivity? Resistivity is the resistance of the unit area of cross section having unit length. J is current per unit area. If you open it up, you will come to the same conclusion. J is I by A, sigma is 1 by rho, E is V by L, and what is rho? If you write rho in terms of A and L, this expression will be What is resistivity? R is equal to rho L by A. So what is rho? R A by L. R A by L. If you compare it, you will see this L and L gets cancelled, this A and A gets cancelled. The same thing that you have the Ohm's law. Ohm's law and microscopic form of Ohm's law just differ in their way of expressing. This is current per unit area. This is resistance. This is conductivity, which is the inverse of basically conductivity is inverse of resistivity, which is the resistance per unit length per unit area. This is potential difference. This is potential difference per unit length. So here we finish with the microscopic form of Ohm's law. In the next video we will discuss about the effect of temperature on the various physical quantities, like on the relaxation time, on resistivity, on resistance, temperature coefficient of resistance. Now you can take the screenshot of this. If anything is not clear, then we can discuss it later on also. You can send your messages or mails to us, or the queries on our video. We can take up that particular topic that which you want to cover it up. Now take the screenshot of it. I hope you like the video. If you have liked the video, then press the like button, subscribe to Uvin Academy channel. Slowly and slowly we will cover the whole chapter in the detail. And बच्चे, the way I am teaching you, it is starting from the basic. अगर आपको किसी को भी करंट इलेक्ट्रिसिटी की ABCD भी नहीं आती, listening to these videos, viewing these videos will help you understand each and everything. I am covering small petty topics also. So in the next video we will finish the part A. I try to finish as much as possible, and then we will discuss in one video the questions and numericals as well. I hope you like the video, so subscribe to our channel. Thank you, बच्चे.